because of lento mangiqala eyobugedla ngiqale through inkinga eyavela ngomkhulu odabuka kithi ekhaya. So ke mhalabo elongore horo lebeletse taba gona ke ene elongore nakwentshi o gona go mpontsha le ka ditoro saying mina mangikulapha okunye ngiyakutshela ukuthi le wena ngathi yabona seyifuna laba besilungu. Yeah, we cannot deal with it ngezinto ezobunyanga. It's a referral also. It's important that any traditional healer at least have that certificate that shows when you are under particular organizations. There are many organizations. You choose. You are always spoiled for choice as a traditional healer. Now, for a particular person, I request and then by the test the main office, because I am not at the moment. I'm not in the space or less than so if kebona, and then I will write a letter and then I will contact.
Rona Mashiane from Politically Incorrect. Finally, after many months of trying to get time to come to your practice area. Kitlo hopela sama tomorrow uki introduce to the viewers of Politically Incorrect, but babolela lemang and how are you normally addressed as which among and why which are so and the proper way of and the titles so we the other questions will come as we proceed. Thank you.
All right. I'm happy actually to be visited by you firstly. I'm preferring the language that I'm firstly using as English just for introduction. So my name is Dr. Thomas Hlamalani Mongwe. The second name that I've just called, rather, Hlamalani, tells you that actually I'm a Tsonga young man. But the title doctor, it's a professional title that I use in a professional setting. Well, I use the term professional because even in the space that I am in, it's actually a professional setting. But Dr. Thomas Hlamalani Mongwe is just a young man okhulele kwamhlanga. So ke holetse ko Mpumalanga mo ilong re lebeletse taba ya gore ke holela mo ke le motho ilong gore at least so far I've managed to obtain 4 degrees in hand. Hence, I am a professional doctor, a doctor of philosophy, because at least I managed to go up to a point where I studied chemistry to a PhD level. So I am a doctor by profession, and I'm also a traditional healer, as you see that actually I've been visited in my traditional practicing space. Yep, in a nutshell, that's me. I think the rest will follow as we go on with the discussion.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I was with Dr. Litchfield Chabalala, Dr. Kanyisile. She's an admiral. She's a spiritual, she's an African spiritual activist ambassador. So she believes very much in African people led by spirits, and because she does not conform to organized religion persuasions. And we are in a space that I've always asked people, what is a sangoma? What is a traditional healer? Why were our people called witch doctor? What is a shaman? What is a ngaka? What is ubungoma? Like all these things. The other ones associated with magic. So I come to you. without knowing anything. And I know you believe in culture so much that you've intrinsically blended it within your professional space.
Yep.
Please, I'm going to sit back, just take us through this trip, explain it to us, then we'll come and get into the politics of why people who are gifted like yourself, because this is a gift and it's a special gift, cannot be integrated into modern day South African society. Let me sit back. Thank you.
All right. No, thanks for your question. You know, when you touch on the issue of traditional healing, actually, I would have preferred to sebenzisa amalimi wesintu for some reasons. I will say maybe they are my personal reasons, but I will blend my discussion with our languages as I go on with this discussion. Into yokuthoma ngoba namhlanje nifike la ngikwandebele ngizokhuluma ngesindebele. Into engizoyitsho ukuthi abelaphi bendabuko into engihlala ngiyitsho kwamanye wamavideo evane ngiwafake ku social media platforms like your TikTok, your Facebook and the likes. I always teach people out there ukuthi look, traditional healers, as I'm saying, abelaphi bendabuko, they are not the same. And that's where we encounter a situation, or rather situations, where people confuse this thing. You did touch on one term that they use as isangoma, and I normally argue or raise my point of view to say when you say isangoma, you are basically more like saying to a particular individual, it's like umgoma, isangoma. This person, it means he's doing izinto noma the characteristics wakhe in terms of behavior yakhe wenza izinto njengomngoma. You understand? So we do have those who are called izangoma noma abanye bazothi lo isangoma. What does that mean? It means lo kungumelaphi wendabuko okwazi ukutshela inkinga yakho through umuntu oyosebenzisa into esibiza ichoba, something that looks like this one. It might be black, and it depends ilontuza ukuthi wena umuntu othwase ngendlela enjani, kunento esikubiza ukuthwasa as well. Now, but when we're looking at different types of traditional healers, we also have the likes of abantu abafana nami ngugedla ke mina. Igedla naye uba umelaphi wendabuko, but you will learn that most of amagedla, you will hardly get them telling you ukuthi they've went for a traditional healing training that was a lengthy one. What do I mean by that? Laba abathathwa mhlamba yohlala kugobela isikhathi thizeni, let's say 12 months or even more, because at least the fair duration of training umuntu esithi umngoma, those ones which are called isangoma or izangoma rather, you'll find that they undergo a training, trained under a traditional healing practice, the routines, the routes that they need to follow and the likes. They will be taken in for about 12 months or so. But, well, you know, what happens lately, we find abanye bahamba 3 months or 2 weeks and they come back home. Well, it's a story for another day. I'm not saying it's wrong, but at the end of the day, I am saying the fair training will last for umuntu ongumgoma noma umuntu othwasa ubusangoma, because it's a common term used. Then uloyo muntu loyo uzohamba for about 12 months. Some they go for 2 years, some they go 3 years. You know, it's like uya a university. You understand? Some courses will last you for a year, some will last you for 3 years and the likes. So it's the same game masesibuyela endabeni efana nomuntu kasebhedi bareke ngakachupe. Ile mina engithe igedla. Ugedla uzomthola futhi. Sike siyicacise this thing because people get confused. I often tell my clients ukuthi look, mina ngugedla. Uma ufika la ngizokutshela inkinga yakho noma wena uzongitshela inkinga yakho, then mina ngizokuthakela umuthi. So it means I will have formulations. I will blend things according to your problem if needs be. I mean, if it's needed, then I will mix those things and then give you those traditional herbs, which organic substances, by the way, are the ones that I often use. In any case, most traditional healers will be using organic substances, which can, relate well with your biological system, which is umzimba wako, right? But umgoma, like for instance, if I compare these two, to the best of my knowledge, the two, isangoma uyothola mkhulu wena njengoba ufikile la esigodlweni sami awubonanga ama-drums, right? You will never see that because angishayelwa ke mina, angishayelwa isigubhu mina. Ngumuntu osebenzisa intlola directly ditawula kuyadiberekisha, but you'll find abanye abogedla they don't even have indawula because mhlambe yena okwakhe ukuthi ufike kuyena uhlale phansi umtshele mkhulu nginenkinga la noma khehla nginenkinga la makhosi nginenkinga kanje. You understand? Well, some people use these terms interchangeably, like as I'm saying makhosi, less I'm saying mkhulu, less I'm saying some will say ugogo. You understand? But the language itself tells you a lot about a particular individual. Most people, for instance, they will call me umkhulu because of lento mangicala eyobugedla ngicale through inkinga eyavela ngomkhulu odabuka kithi ekhaya. So ke mhalaba ilongore horo lebeletse taba bona ke ene ilongore nakwentshi o gona go mpontsha le ka ditoro. So ngugedla mainly, but ngiyakwazi ukubona ngamaphupho, ngiyakwazi ukushaya inhlolo. You understand? So into yami ine blend kusho ukuthi isiphiwo somuntu osebenza ngobunyanga can come in many ways. Hence we often hear abanye bathi kunabantu esibabiza aba-prophet. Some people will be surprised, oh uthi ugedla but he has this thing. Ngiyakwazi usebenzisa umkhuleko mina ngilaphe umuntu. Now the term ugedla, for instance, if I can talk about it, because it's space engisona, I mean, la kwaNdebele, for instance, nasithi into iyagedla ngesindebele, nasithi into iyagedla kufana nevili lekoloyi nali ngasi stable, mumuntu okwazi ukuya le nale. Hence abanye bazokutshela ukuthi ugedla, yeah, bazothi ugedla uyakwazi ukubulala, ugedla uyakwazi ukuphilisa. Because the muntu lo khona ukuswinga to all directions. That's the thing. Inkinga ngogedla iyo leyo, and ugedla kunzima ukuthi abanye abantu bamzwisise ukuthi umuntu onjani, unlike umuntu osithi isangoma. Because loyo uyazi ukuthi vele uyothola athwasisa, for instance wabona oramo arena mathasana kwayo, ga ke thwasisi, but part of me not ngithwasise. I know I'm capable of training people. I am capable, more than like capable of doing that. But enye into engenze ukuthi ngingayenzi into yokuthwasisa, going back to the term, because people always get confused to what is ukuthwasa noma yini ukuthwasisa. Remember the term itself, ukuthwasa, is actually to learn, is to be taught. And then uyothwasiswa, you're going to be taught by who? Ugobela. That becomes your mentor. It becomes umuntu ozokutrainer kuphi with traditional healing practice. Akutshela ukuthi okay, la kwenziwa kanje, uma kungene isigulani sinenkinga ekanje, ungenza kanje, ungenza kanje, ungenza kanje. And then it means there are limitations okwelapha. Kuba nama limitations. Hence we always, when we have workshops ezamanyanga noma abantu abalapha ngokwendabuko, we always encourage each other in that cycle ukuthi you need to consider ukurefer. Dlulisela isigulani sakho mangabe sesihlulile wena ngendlela wazi ngakho, dlulisele komunye. Ngoba why? Going back to my first point, abelaphi bendabuko asifani. You can come here mkhulu, and then you find that mina certificate sami sobunyanga njengoba uzibonile, it says okay umkhulu uyakwazi ukulapha izinto ezihambisana nani nekhanda noma inhloko, you know, headaches and the likes, or noma into enokwenza nesifuba. But at the end of the day you find that ngendlela ngazi ngakho mhlawumbe sengiyahluleka, so I must hand you over to another one engimazi ukuthi ngathi naye uyayazi lento. You understand? So we do that considering the fact that yes, la ekwelapheni kwendabuko mkhulu in as much as sinabelaphi bendabuko abahlukile sibalile ngibalile kakhulu ngakhuluma kakhulu ngalabo ababiza izangoma ngakhuluma ngamagedla, but we don't end it there. It goes on where we say yes sinaso isangoma, sinayo ugedla, sinaye umbelethisi. There are people we call ababelethisi. They are more like gynecologists of some sort, you know. So sinaba thandazeli, the ones who believe mostly kusebenziseni amakhandlela. Nami uyangibona ngithole ngikhanyisa ikhandlela. Hence ngithe mina ngugedla. Yabona ngiyagedla. Ngena ngapha ngene ngale, you know, but most of the time uyongithola ngisebenzisa umuthi wesintu. I mix traditional herbs. Ngizilanda kuphentabeni. Yabona, and then ngihlanganise ngokwazi kwami nangendlela mina owami umoya ngaleso sikhathi ungitshela ngakuthi mawuhleli la ungitshela inkinga yakho kudingekani phezulu kwakho ngaleso sikhathi. Yabona, ngiyakwazi ukuthatha futhi ngikuyise emfuleni ngiyosebenza ngathi ngumuntu ofana nomthandazi. Yabona, hence I was talking about umbelethisi ngithi kunabathandazi. Kunalaba ke la ebuthandazini kunalaba esibabiza futhi abaprofeti. We have seen them as well. Bayakwazi ukulapha ngani ngokomoya. You understand? Then ke siyabuya sithi thina lapha mangibuyela kancane kulaba ababelethisi, right? Umbelethisi loya uyakwazi sithole ugogo omdala bathi ge ngwana a tshwere ke tlhogwana mo tšeeng le mishe ga mokwena mola gona le mogekolo o tlo lala fela yena o mishitše ko di-docteng tše dingwe tša sekgowa ba mo file tše ba mo fileng tšona maro kry-a gore ba mofa wa folanyana sebaka mafelelong ba re no nko mishe mola mogekolong ola nkare o tla ya alafa ntho a fitlha mola a alafa ntho e ba e bitsang gore ke tlhogwana gona le dikgetlane ke tše dintšhinyana dilo tše e leng gore ke malwetši a bana ba bannyane mara o kry-a e le mogekolo nako ngwe wa kry-a e le mogalabe. I have one ke tla no re ke ngaka le yena e leng gore ka motseba ka mo siabuswa ka mo o gona go dira dilo tsa go tshwana le tseo. Go na le batho ba e leng gore ba gona go alafa only batho ba e leng gore ba tlhokofalletswe. Because as Africans, guys, we need to understand that honestly there are some of the things you will never do away with them if you do not consult with a traditional healer. I am telling you, there is one that troubles people, taba ya mahome. Uma uqeda ukushonelwa kunokwelashwa ngokwendabuko, and you will find bakhona abogogo nabomkhulu abakwazi ukublenda certain things. There are organic herbs, as I've said earlier on. The phytochemicals that are brought by these things that they mix and they give you as a concoction or imbiza ukuthi uyoyiphuza bese esinye isikhathi mhlambe bazokusebenza ngendlela abakusebenza ngako. Those blends, they've mastered those, and ziyabanceda abantu thina sekabona abantu abavuka ekufeni. I've seen people, mina ngithi ngifonela some friends of mine, I mean they are medical doctors. I also wanted to be a medical doctor, but I happened to fall in love with science at the end of the day, and I became a doctor of philosophy in chemistry. So but one time I remember I had somebody who was a patient, and I called my friends, those who did medicine. They are working, they are practicing, some of them Yabanaguma public hospitals, and they were like, no man, I have a situation like this. Hence I'm saying, mina mangiglapa, ogunye nyakchel gute le, when angati yaban sefuna laba beslung. Yeah, we cannot deal with it ngezinto ezobunyang. It's a referral also. Now, one of my friends told me, good, no, this one, I urilengi, liriking, surgery, right? Yeah, surgery, blah, 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 what. And guess what? That guy, he's alive. Now, like he's alive. The guy, wala shwa imbiza yesintu. And you'll be surprised, we got it from an Indian who is a traditional healer. You see now, traditional healing is a complex thing. I see people try to talk about it. It's quite complex. But it's just a hint that I can give. It's quite complex. At the end of the day, I'm trying to raise a point. Kutabela Pibendabugo, they are not the same. They are not the same. One of it, maybe I might have missed. Kunenye, category. That is category, mina, for the lack of a better word. for now isanusi. We know abantu abanjengobaba uCredo Moto. We have seen, I just forgot his name. There's another Sanusi, I think he's from KZN, if I'm not mistaken. He's also a church leader. You understand? Kusho ukuthi la mawuphethe ile moya kungase kuvele okunye futhi okuvela na kuyisiphiwo kuwena. Njengoba mina ngithi the leading part of me ubugedla, but uyongithola namasangoma, uyongithola nabaprofeti. Kaya kereke ngibine lona. But I cannot say the main thing that I do ukuprofeta. No, I will tell you ukuthi ila ekuhlanganiseni imithi. Which lapha kugedla, some people will bring in the term unyanga. Ati no, mina ngiyinyanga. That person basically is trying to tell you ukuthi yena walafa fela uyanyanga. The term ugunyanga comes from the Nguni term. If we are kwaXhosa or the Eastern Cape part of our country, they will tell you ukuthi xa ndithi ndiyakunyanga mfondini ndithetha ukuba I'm healing you, ndiyanyanga, ukunyanga lokho. So ugedla uyakwazi ukunyanga. You understand? So there are different categories. We are not the same.
Thank you. That was a long introduction. So the long introduction, it answered a lot of questions that I think my audience would have had. So my interest is specifically on the medical side of science, using organic herbs. What you have, this setup, is actually a pharmacy. A pharmacy that is much more than a pharmacy because it uses organic materials of the earth. And you even go further because it's inclined by spirituality. You have certificates to prove your worth. My question and other questions that I also ask other practitioners.
Yep.
You often see people like yourself. I said you are gifted and in a special way.
Yep.
I want to go to a pharmacy in a mall and find you and find you there. The last time I asked you that if I have, and I told you a common problem. A common problem is there are people who have been diagnosed with high blood pressure, who would then want to say, this is a common problem. How do we, because there are people who've got chronic illnesses who do not like these chemicals dispensed by their world. And ne ke gopela gore a re ska shumisha mantswe a sekgowa too much because YouTube a e rate ge re berekisha mantswe la sekgowa too much. Ge re berekisha madi a le a magodimo go tla pleke le re go ba le di side effect eng. So motho wa go tshwana le o le malwetse a mangwe a tsamaelana le ona, experience ya lena ke fe e ke re lena ke bolele ka wena o le teng le ba bangwe ke wena wa refera ge selo se fitile mo tafoleng wa go bona ka re your expertise are not aligned with this special one, you refer. Malwetse a tshwana le no o a thusha bjang? Ke a gopola last time ge re bolela boletse ka le di lifestyle di a thusha bjalo. So I want to give an opportunity for motho a dutseng ka gae a nang le malwetse a le ba bangwe ba bitša gore ke swikiri le tša go tshwana le tšeo, o a bolele mara o fokotše sekgowa sela because kwa YouTube ba ile gore rena re itira baalafi ba sekgowa. Thank you. Ke a leboga.
No, ya kwagala tabeng ya gore dingaka tša setšo di a kgona gore di alafe malwetse a mangwe le ge ba bangwe ba ka gana efela o tshwana le bolwetse ba go ba le madi a magolo o kana o ka ba tšea moso o lebelele go tshwana le bo ne ke bolela ka bona ke re ke magome dilo tšeo ke ra gore dilo tše e leng gore ba go fa tšona gore goba ba re ba go apela tšona gore o dinwe di tlo tsamaya tsela ya go tshwana nako e ntšhi go na le dipheko tše e leng gore rena re le balafi ba setšo ra di tseba gore ge motho ba re nka rona le bothata ba gore o na le madi a magolo nako nngwe a se madi a magolo fela nako nngwe o kry-a gore ga o na tsamaišo ya madi ga botse ka mo mmeleng wa gago bjanong re kgona go direla ntho e leng gore o e apea ene re o botse ka nako ka gore o na le motho o kgona go tšea dilo tšela tša go apeiwa a di apeye rather nako e telele go o dira ka mokgwa o tšea sela se e leng gore se bohlokwa wa se bolaya nako e nngwe o ka apea nako e telele o a feleletša gore o feleletša o dira ntho e leng gore o tlo enwa gane ke poison so nako sa mathomo e bohlokwa mo e leng gore re lebeletse dipheko tša go tshwana le go na le pheko a šile ba re ke monna maledu a Sepedi Zulus will talk about ilabatega some people will say inkomfe re bolela ka African potato ke pheko e leng gore ke kgolo thata ke tše dintši tše e leng gore di amana le yona re go fe yona re re nna ntshwe mara o ska enwa go feta tekano akere ka gore go na le ntho e le gore batho ba bangwe ba tshwere ke ona malwetse a go tshwana le madi a magolo ba bangwe maybe ba na le bothata ba gore ka mo kamereng a go berekege gane o kry-a gore ke lebaka lang ke lebaka la madi ke lebaka la moshifa nke ke bolele ka e ya banna mathata I will just use the term or just for only that the small part ne synthetic ones di kgona go ya mešifeng ela ya senna fela straight ko yona gane tša rena tša setšo di ka se ye mešifeng fela di o boa gape di e kae mo ka gore tabeng tšela tša ka mo kamereng ke tshepa gore ba nkwa taba gona e thoma mo re boela ko tabeng e leng gore o kgwathile gannyane wa ba o e tlogela ke rile nna tšatši le lengwe ke bolela le wena ka re bophelo ba motho out of taba tša bongaka out of gore ba go loya ba bangwe ke re ba re ba loiwa mara boloi nako nngwe wa tetoya wena re ba le mokgwa wa gore re lebeletše tabakgolo ya gore wena o le motho o jaeng ba bangwe ba na le dikoloto di ba tshwenya kae mo go fitla gae a o mo mogalabe mola ka sebereke bjanong rena ga re apeela dilo tša setšo go tshwana le bona bo monna maledu go na le bo vuga for instance uvuga mina ngisebenzisa kakhulu ezamazulu aboqonzi abafaki bangalala nanzi futhi la nginalo you understand ra khona gore sikusebenzisela bangalala sikusebenzisele uvuka abovuka abafana nabo you understand hlanganise nayo ilabatheka sihlanganise nezinto esithi aboqonzi sihlanganise izinto ezinjengabo thambo lamadoda sengikhuluma endabeni zabo baba for instance nginikeza isibonelo lo mhlanganiso dilotshela ditlhakane ka moka di khona gore di go thushe e seng ka meshifa ela re reng ka re bothata ba gago bo ko moshifeng wena ke ka mgo ona le ba ibitsa go tsogela to a certain limit akere benong nto re khona go ya lafa ka dipheko tša setšo mara pheko la go yenwa o gopole gore go yenwa e tla ele ka source ya metsi or the carrier ya yona gore tsena ka mo mmeleng ga go tloba le metsi benong ge itsena e ka se kitimele mo la fela e tlobe kitimela everywhere ko mmeleng wa gago including kae mo gore e direng e gona go reduce eng stress ukandelela ngokomkhumbulo kuyakhona ukuthi kwehle ngoba abantu abanjengami nethe ukuthi angeke ngazikhuluma zonke indatha zakhona mara I know njengogedla ukuthi ngizohlanganisa nani mangibona ngathi eish omkhulu uhleli la uthe yakusasebenzeni nasekamereni makafika nje uvela lale umama akasathokoziseki and we sigwema ini siphela lapho sizabe sigwema into ye cheating angithi phela umama naye uyogcina aphuma yangaphandle sesenokwenzeka le ngoba wena umalelisi it's vice versa lento engikhulumayo uyangizwisisa nawe sisi uma ngabe uloko uyagula la uloko wena uphuma igazi lokho siyakwazi ukuyigwema leyo nto leyo ngezinto zesintu bakhona aboshongwe hlonya yona rena le dilo tsa go tshwana le bo molaka ka gore ba bangwe ba na le sebabo izinto ezinjengemfelo mkhulu izinto lezo ziyahlanganisa sikunikeze zona neminye imithi miningi abobhoqo bakhona abanye abazosebenzisa uqobo instead of ubhoqo you understand so lezo zinto lesiyazi ukuthi mina esumuntu ozwisisa mhlambe ihlangothi le science I will tell you the phytochemistry there is quite interesting maso uzihlanganisile.
Where do we find the difficulty to have this specific, very important interventions that you have, of course, in medical science and in herbal treatment? Why can't they be commonplace? This is the first time I come into a Dumba of a practicing Inyang. I thought when I come here, I will see a hidden place where people, when they consult, they make sure they don't, even they hire a car, so my car must not be seen parked at that place. And then I wear a cap, so I need to understand to openly consult. Because I mean mangwalo onalona, you've got all the things. Someone said we sometimes, because of our past and how it was sold in the negative, because you hear with like witch doctor. Yeah, ngaka, it's always older people who are dated, their hygiene is not really important. But you could see when we demystify everything, we come to your space, everything is clean, everything is sorted, everything is in order. I mean, you are a professional yourself. You understand the importance of packing and stuff. If you get a space in a commercial rental place, do you think people will not openly support you? Or do you think people are generally afraid to openly in consultation? Or you need some sort of, I'm looking for this word, a subsidy from government to subsidize you guys to make sure that you are all over? Because let's be honest, if you guys thrive, you are reducing queues at public hospitals, and you are reducing limb medication at public hospitals. So I see you guys as an important factor in what government can use. Go fodisha naga. Go pela on perspective ya neo ya politiki ka mogare, how it affects go ska bolela too much ka ditlhare mara in open society, what is it that you can do? And o mongwaledi mo dulong tse the association tse, take us through that part, because this for me is the most important part. How do we solve it? Rena re tsebang wa root or dilo tse important. How do we take it out there gore batho le bona ba tle ba support openly Because I'm talking about you come from corporate. You'd understand whenever someone comes back from work, ki January. But to fela ba tota ka di medical certificate from practicing people from Western orientation. A few will come from places like this ones. Kenya answer ya gago ora look around those things did change society and how we go forward. Because you can understand the political party just not level MK. They are advancing for such. ANC has done it, but people are not satisfied. Kinyoko bona ntho we diramo e ya mo bathong e thusha batho because evidence ya hore e gona ya thusha re a e bona ibe batho ba choosang ke a leboga.
Ya kwagala ke tlo ithoma ka taba ya go bolela ka nke ke ibishetse ko tabeng ya mangwalo a bongaka ntho e re tshwenyang thata why is ufitla. So I will talk about this. My heart is sore because somebody just came in. I consulted with somebody and what I picked up, that person was scammed. That's the problem. That's where we start. So we still have a problem of other people by longer refuse to refer. And that's why most people, they don't want to consult with traditional healers. Kokala, they will say inyanga ziyatura. Kufana na lagwa they will say inyanga ziyatura. Oya ko Limpopo patlor tingaka diyatura. Panyaka chalet, onali chalet weni. And then it becomes a problem. You see, and only to find that it's not really true. It's just that some people, when they see a client, some people, not all, when they see a client, or let me say a patient coming in, they will say, there we go. I will have to get something. Or just come up with the story just for me to dig deep into their pockets. And that is totally not correct. You understand? If into ikhula ungumelapho endabuko mdlulisele phambili umuntu wenkosi. Now it's where we go back to what I always say to these people who come to me and cry and say, yo yazi mkhulu sengibethele umuzi, yo yazi mkhulu sengenzeni, but logo lento engihluphayo ayisolveki. You understand? And I will have just a single question, simple one, which is taking us to the political side of things and what is the outside world seeing us as traditional healers, right? I'm talking about the certificate, practicing certificate. It's important that any traditional healer at least have that certificate that shows when you are under a particular organizations. There are many organizations. You choose. You are always spoiled for choice as a traditional healer. Now, it takes us back to the laws, if I can use that term, the laws of our country, where, for instance, I will be a member of a certain organization, but our country has a particular council, which is known as the Traditional Health Practitioners Council. Few months ago, there was a protest linked to that council as well, where some regulations were somehow stipulated without certain, or without, let me say, a large population of traditional healers being involved. That's why there was that kind of a strike. You understand? So there's still that loophole where some of maybe important individuals in traditional healings are not consulted enough. Only selected individuals are taken into a particular space where they conclude on certain things, and you find that some of those rules and regulations, they are not really accommodating traditional healers. Hence, at the end of the day, you find them not being in the public space in a fair manner. You see, because of there's still that glitch between some organizations which are leading traditional healers, as well as our national government rules, if I can put it that way. You understand? In as much as we understand, like myself, I am able, I've done it several times where I took my patients langiti, when let's slaughter less akusisembiza lesi akusi esomuthe ngizothi hayi ke sifulane and stuff, and then I refer that person esibhedlela. Uma ngifika mina esibhedlela bangazi la esibhedlela thizeni khona la ngikhona ngifika ngivele ngiveze kunencwadi engisebenzayo. It's a booklet of some sort. It looks like an ID. I will show them, and then they will take in ilontuza patient. Yeah, but so what happens now? We find that the space of traditional healing, it's populated by those which do not even fall under particular organizations, where we say we have workshops. You understand? We will tell you ukuthi angeke usukele umuntu omkhulu onokugula loku okukhulu okwasegazini and wena sowufuna ukumfaka imbiza. Maybe you can win, but most of the time you will not. Refer umuntu ngale esilungwini. So that's why some people, they end up with what we call herbal intoxication. Ngani ka lebaka la gore o kreya malafu a setso a dirile phosho, o tšere ngwana batho wa mofa dilo tšeo wa mofa go bona gore wa palelwa motholo wa tlhokofala. Gane nkebe wena no le a recognized traditional healer nkebe o mo referetse ko secteng e leng gore ba ka mo thusha based on malwetse or bolwetse ba ileng gore bo motshwere. So ke bathata ba ileng gore na le bona, hence batho ba bantši nna ba tla go nna ka gore ba re o tshwereng sorry pura khibidu, the PhD thing. So when they come here, I always tell them, I showed the lady that that is just behind you actually my price list, and I told her that no, because you are crying now. She literally cried. I was like, I'm not going to charge you. You will come back and thank me. So you need to assess the situation as well. Because some people have mental issues. So abanye, they will never consider that. They will just want to do what ukuthola imali, which is quite a bit sad. Yeah.
Medical certificate for people to take back to work. Are you forced to come and consult by you, and then when done, and then you go to a doctor, because that's the only medical certificate that my workplace can recognize?
Quite an interesting question. I don't know. Maybe it depends on what company are you working for as an employee. But in Turkey, it's about gore. Nakabonna. Hona le ntwe ke dirileng ngwago mo e leng gore ke rekisitse letter ya go tswa ngakeng ya setso, and it was accepted. So that's why I'm saying maybe ntwe e tshwantse gore e spreadiwe. It has never been spread enough to raise awareness gore traditional healers le bona bana le mangwalo a ileng gore ba gona go ngwala. Even myself, I can write a letter for a particular person ke mmona gore aga se gone bola mmereko I requesta ka tsela ya gona, and then ba ibethe stamp ko the main office, because I am not at the moment, I'm not in the space or ke be le stamp seo. So if ke bona, and then I will write the letter, and then I will contact our chairperson in our organization, and then o gona go betha stempe, and then le yena obviously o tlo ba boletse le nna ke then ke matlhalosetse situation privately and confidentially, so and then re gona go fa motho letter. Most of the time we don't get rejections, but I am aware that some people got rejections ka di letters tša rena mangaka setso.
Hona lady traditional healers that are working with politicians, hona le the bishop, hona le batho ba semoya. Go tla bjang gore I spoke about subsidies, so I mean mohlonyane lengana rena ba bangwe ba re leng ignorant le mepile ko mela re thomile o tseba ka nako e la sekhuba nako e naga e tswaletswe gore selo se se important se se a thusha mara ba ntse ba dutse ka yona ba sa e tsamaiše. How do you package your material? I'm using even a wrong word ke material. Dipheko tša lena le di-package a beyang gore badimo or mo le consultang gona ba le dumelele gore le kgone go thuša batho without consultation. A ke tsere ke make a sense now. Ka sekgowa ke re ba re go na le di-over the counter medication ona o le goreng o no fitlha wa re ntho ya ka e botlhoko ba tseba ra bona re tšea ntho re a tlola so ke di-ready made a kere so ka semoya le a kgona go dira di-ready made ela la di beya gore ge motho a fitlhile go tshwana le ge motho a ka tla kitima mare yo ke tshwere ke sekhuba se sengwe se senya ka Dr. Mongwe o kry e mengwe mmereko wa o ntšhitše mo Ndumbeng mara o ena le a private store mo le reng batho ge ba tlile ba tseba ka le ga geno gore ge motho a re o nyaka eng wa tsere bilo ba fine so meaning gore ke boela go tabela ya wa re sa be le di-pharmacy like places mo le gore batho ba ka thušega ka pelanyana because bontši ba rena sekgowa se la re ya ka gore a rena choice ke išea mo
no ya kwagala go bolela nnete di gona di-centers tša go tshwana le tšeo ke ka no be ke tlhoka tsebo ka gore ba kry-a subsidy mara ka go nagana wa ka a gona subsidy ba e kry-ang ka gore bongaka is not recognized go le ngaka mo you're just person. I mean I've heard somebody saying during COVID there are people who propose certain concoctions and those concoctions they were never approved because they were not scientifically proven. That's why lately you find people like about Dr. Mongwe, myself, even though I did not like it, but ngiza ku public platform to talk ukuthi we are there as scientists. But then coming from space yani yokwelapha ngokwendabuko. You cannot come to me and tell me that it's not scientifically proven. Because spirituality can never be displayed in a PowerPoint presentation. If that makes sense. You can never do that. I can never display that. But I can only tell you that, okay, because of moya, na go dira gore bloate ka mo maleng ka mo ke tlo go direla ntho so tama e fehla ntho o yena ntho e tlo fela ena bo motaria ai bloating ela e tsamaile wa ke neng ke nwa dinging lenging a ke wangbushi so di renali what we call the herbal shops. For instance, in this area that I'm in, I normally refer people to Mohlala's herbal shop. Because I know gore ke batho ba sepedi ba kwishisha gore ge re robentse motho go bona gore tlamon rekela molaka o reke hlonya o reke shongwe a ke re gore most who se se happen and then di tlhakantse ka mgo o dinwe ka mgo motho la bo wa fole ba bangwe ba tla mo ba rekela di suit ba bangwe ba dirang but a ke motho o ileng gore ke kitimishitseng chelete because the protocol ya certificate say nna ke swearing it says unga kitimisi imali ngaphambili push more in terms of ukulapha umuntu uzobuya yena azobonga if ke motho ileng gore ona le nnete akere so subsidies I don't think so cool. I don't think so. And in terms of indaba yokpheka, you are using the correct term. It's a material. Remember when we're talking about the material, you will then refer it according to my own definition. I will say it's any substance that any other person or a human being can use. So even the peg, which I said, it's a material, right? It's a herbal material. It's a herbal substance, right? So body package. We have people like about Manzi, Gobo, Pretoria there. We have Bontloro, herbal shops, you know. I'm just mentioning those which I know of. You go to a center in Johannesburg, for instance, Faraday. Abanye bati gune linyisa ihlangot la wa mai. You find people but display le imithi yabo. Yes, into. They sourced those from the mountains. However, it takes us to a point of nature conservation. How do we then conserve these things? That's why we say if you were trained how to do this thing, you are not going to destroy in nature. And people will come into the space Eyobunyanga and say, yeah, these people are destroying nature. We are not destroying nature. If only you are a traditional healer who is trained. You can never do that. Because utata kancane. Nano muthatha iqemba uzothatha kancane nje. Ushiye lo muthi noma leso sihlahla leso sikhulu.
Gonale a space, I'm asking, gonale space where yourselves would advance factories where you lab test. As a scientist, you understand my question.
Yeah.
Can you answer uskai tisha too much or but
Okay.
where you can lab test with trial periods and scientific backup ya ntho tla ba we dirile ibile le a ke tsore ke be bjang agricultural site cultivation sites of certain medications the khona o tseba gore re shota ka rooibos for example re tseba re ikhumana kwa Hlathini gona le tee ya thaba o no go tsa rena na re dilo tse re na le yona in abundance mara maybe scientific research ya re bontšha gore no in terms of nature conservation ga botse re shota ntho go tlo fitla mo loreng in 3 years time re be re gopela batho ba stop go harvest nthoela because a kre batho ba rena ba noga a ba kushishilo re ba gaeng maybe a re tsebe le scientific name ya dilo tsela a gona ba wa ngusha re ke ya kae ke the scientific side of this thing go tsa rena na rawa ba dimo ba re file ntho abundantly e fail gane re papara batho ba setse ba tsere a kenya go ya on those controversial topics tsa o tshwana le gore gona le batho ba mafase ya ka ntle ba tlotse ya dipheko tsa rena ba di tshwara gore ge di fedile ba boe ba tla ba rekishetse gape ke a leboga re ke shie mo e tla ba le question ya mafelelo so all the questions tse go boditse tsona o sa di answerang le tse le reng o no go di answera ka boena o kwa ka di botsisha o na pe o di fetise in 5 minutes thanks
all right more lebeletseng gona taba ya gore dipheko tše dingwe re ka kry maybe di tlhokega go ya le nako including the fact ya gore batho go tshwanetse gore ba tsebe gore ba gona ba go tshwana le nna ba ile gore le bona ke di doctor tša scientists now go lebeletse ntho ba ko citing ya mostly you'll find them come citing ya botanical science and then ba gona go botsa gore pheko eso gona le dilo tša go tshwana le tše ke di chemical tše leng gore re gona gore di ka go alafa se le se bjanong mo go re lebeletse taba ya gore ke bona ba leng gore mangaka a leng gore tsamaya di workshop o tshwanetse gore ba interact le bona where we can end up advancing to a point ya gore re tšea mangaka mangwe re wa train ko dilong tše gore o kgona go tšea hlong ya gagwe wa ithuta ka yona more gore seo leng gore wena o nagana gore ka se dira e ka dira actually more than seo ene di tsela tša gona o kry-a gore a se ntho e leng gore o ka e tšea ore e bima ore e thatafetše if only go ba le ntho re ke perekišano between the scientist and le bona mangaka a setšo I have a colleague of mine actually or should I say a friend of mine Dr. Ndlov who is actually doing that. He interacts with traditional healers, collects samples of their important herbs or substances that they use to heal certain ailments and take them to the lab. Then they do what we call extraction. Ba se lengore se gona ko phekong eo, and then ba lebelele gore se lengore se ka bontši in terms of chemical ke eng a fetša ba boe ba re botse ba re no go ra gore pheko e ge le re ya bereka ntho e leng gore e bereka thata mo ke ntho so ke mo re kreang gore go na le ntho e leng gore re gona mola ko tšela tša magoa tše dingwe tša di-product tša bona or dilo tše e leng gore ba lefa tšona di tšwa gona ko dilong tša setšo ka gore they mimic the chemical molecule, the structure, they mimic it. Hence we use the term synthetic substances versus what we use, which we will say it's just natural products.
Okay, so the space is there for that to be done, because already there are doctors who are already doing this. But what is the right amount of dosage, and duration, how long will someone be given so now in closing, from political players, I give you MK for an example. I'm not saying EFF and ANC, they're not doing it. DA and Patriotic Alliance, I know MK. I've been exposed to their work. I've met traditional healers by MK who practice and who do this thing. If MK party, or wish or badring, but support a gang, so feel like the current government is not doing. Because ntwaelena le ka seilwe fela ka semoya e nyaka le political intervention gore le te le thušane ko pele ba understand gore le dirang keng se le reng in closing o ka ba gopela political parties, you can be specific le ba ba se tlotlang gore ba le gopela ba le thushe kaeng. Thank you.
We did talk about issues of subsidizing those with potential in terms of maybe developing products that are coming directly from traditional healing. One of it is to at least maybe enlighten or train traditional healers in terms of Tabaya, how can they apply for funding for them to be somehow subsidized, or for them to be supported in a manner that they can take their special products and then make sure hore badi nokela go the public platforms such as herbal shops or even any supermarkets for that matter. You understand? I've seen those products go the Boxer and the likes where we see this is a traditional mixture, or it's a substance that comes from somebody who is a traditional healer, and that alone needs some form of subsidy, because the revenue that we make as traditional healers, it's really not enough for one to can even think of studying maybe a big setting where one can supply maybe product. I do have products for that matter, but it's quite tricky because you can only sell to your patients, and taking them back to the shops and stuff, it takes quite a stretch. At the end of the day, we learn that at least maybe collaborating and getting the correct networks might help a lot, including obviously political networks, as you've mentioned, parties like those who embrace into yesintu. If you don't do it that way, we are Africans, but you don't want to support into yetu Eyama Africans, then that is quite questionable. You want us to do is into Ngesi Western. There's what, just in closing, there's what we call patenting in science, for instance. Some of the things, my brother, you will learn that traditional healers will never tell you. I did the same earlier on when I said I cannot say some of them because it's like a patented information for me. You understand? So you cannot come to me and want me to disclose each and every single A and B. No.
Thank you very much. I hope one day we'll see these big medical laboratories who would test patent medications to a point where their generic stuff will be available over the counter, and so we could expand to have alternatives in South Africa from what the pharmaceuticals are giving us. But I think we've arrived to the end of this. Ke a leboga for giving me your time to expand on this. Let's hope somewhere political players, people in authority, medical practitioners who have got deeper hands and deeper pockets will come and intervene and supply. I love this space that I'm in. I see a lot of things that could be out there helping people as they find it. Thank you very much. Itada.
Cool.